everybody, this is Lee with Creative2xmom, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the books we read in the month of June. So welcome back to my channel. My name is Lee and this is Creative2xmom. This channel is all about homeschooling, parenthood, and thriving in the day-to-day. And in today's video I'm going to be talking about some really good books. Every month I post a video like this one sharing what I read personally as well as the read-alouds that we read with our kids. This is a video in collaboration with Ingrid over at the Ingrid Chronicles, so I'm going to link her channel down below as well as the playlist. As always, if you'd like to join in, make sure you create a video like this one, mentioning the two co-host channel, and then let me know and I'll make sure I get you added to the playlist. I love seeing what everybody's reading because I'm an avid reader and I'm always looking for new ideas. So let's get started into what I read this month. So the first book I read was called The Go-Giver. This is by Bob Berg and John David Mann. This is a quick, short read, sort of based around business principles, and you're reading a fictional story of a man who's trying to get ahead in his job, feels a little bit insecure about his place in his career, and he meets this other gentleman who's been a mentor for many business people. This guy says, okay, give me, I think it's like 5 days, and you must apply these principles to the business world. And he takes him through some very unorthodox advice about being a giver in the business world and not just going after what you want. Taking these business principles was advised by one of my mentors. It's a very quick, very short read. I think it's right around 140 pages maybe. It's a lot to think about because it's somewhat contradictory to what you would typically think of as a successful business strategy. An interesting take on how to be effective. These are some principles that I have been applying to my own entrepreneurial journey, but I'm still mulling over. I've been applying a few things. I've seen some fruit. I love the idea of it. It's just how effective will it be in business? Still applying that, still figuring that out. But if you're looking for something a little bit different, maybe a different viewpoint in how to advance your career, I would say check this one out. The next book I read has been around for quite some time and has been on my bookshelf for many, many years. This is Women Living Well. It's by Courtney Joseph. This was a book that I mentioned in my spring reading list that I wanted to go back and reread because it's been a while since I've read it. Now you may know the name Courtney Joseph. She is the founder and author of a blog called Women Living Well. She has a huge online, I guess they'd be like prayer accountability groups that she mentors. This is a book that she wrote several years ago, and it's broken up into 4 parts. It's broken up into kids, it's broken up into marriage, it's broken up into your walk with the Lord, and your homemaking. This is a book that I sort of feel like it's outlived its usefulness in my home. Now, I think there's some good advice here. It's very much so written from an old-fashioned support your husband, be a housewife, be a stay-at-home mom. She doesn't say that you have to be a homeschooler, although that is what she has chosen to do, but very much so of being centered in your home. So if that's something that you don't like, you will hate this book. That is something that I believe in pretty strongly. Even though I do believe in that, there were a few things in the marriage that I sort of side-eyed a little bit. Not necessarily the principle that she puts forward, but the way, some of her examples and the way it works in her family. I looked at it and I thought, ooh, that would totally not work in my marriage. So I think principle-wise, it's a good book, but you kind of have to almost overlook some of the examples that she gives because I feel like they're even somewhat dated. I do think that there is, for me personally, there's a lot to be said of being that homemaker, being at home, being there available for your kids and for your husband and making things work. I think that there's a lot to be said for a stay-at-home parent, but just some of the examples I didn't feel were necessarily applicable. So this one I will be passing on. The next book I read after reading some business and some more heady books. I've jumped into The Harvest of Grace. This is a fiction book in the Ada's House series. It's by Cindy Woodsmall. You guys know I love Cindy Woodsmall. This is a book I'm rereading. This is the third and final book, I believe, in the series. So we're following sort of this overarching story of Kara and Ephraim from book 1 all the way now to book 3. She was supposed to be raised Amish, but there was some miscommunication when her mother passed away, and she was never passed off to her Amish family, so she was in foster care. She meets this man named Ephraim. She decides to go through the whole process of becoming Amish so that they can get married. Now this particular story is sort of a story within a story, and you've got Sylvia and you've got Aaron. I had to remember his name. She comes to this farm looking for sort of some redemption. Her inheritance was passed on to another member of the family through some deception and some deceit, and so she comes to Aaron's parents to sort of work their farm while Aaron is away. Aaron comes back trying to convince his parents to sell the farm, so you've already got this contention of she's super invested and he's ready to get rid of it. He feels like his parents are aging, it's unprofitable, it's not going to work. They have to work together to make the farm profitable enough so that he can then sell it, or that she can convince him to keep it. So you can already see where this is going. You start to create this conflict, and then there's a love interest there, and then there's the overarching story of the entire town. This is a series that I've talked about before, I've actually read before, and I came back to it and I didn't remember reading it because Cindy Woodsmall is just that good of a storyteller. So if you're looking for Amish fiction, I would definitely say read through the Ada's House series. Love, love, love this one. The next book I'm going to talk about is called The Prayer Saturated Family. This is by Cheryl Sachs. This again was on my spring reading list, which I will link down below. I think this was the last one, so I actually got through my list this year. I've had this book on my shelf for some time. It was recommended by another YouTuber. I purchased it, read the first chapter, never went back to it. And I thought, you know what, I really need to read it because again, I'm going through my bookshelf to see if it's worth this space. So I went through it. The first part of the book talks a lot about why have a family prayer time, what is important about prayer, what prayer can do in not just your household but your community and your nation. Second part sort of gets into some of the more applicable examples of how people have made this work, with starting one if you have teenagers, or starting one if you have outside family, or starting one if you have little kids in your home. What does that look like? And then the third part of the book is a 30-day sort of prayer challenge roadmap for how you would make the first 30 days work in your family if you need some help in that area. This book sparked a lot for me, just in the principles of I really value family devotional time, I value family prayer time. That's sort of been a theme overarching for the last 6 months for me personally, but this just brought it even more, like it's zeroed in. You know how you know you have a value for something, but you maybe don't live it out as much as you want. This drove that point home again and again of like, yes, this really is what I want for our family. This really is something that I believe in strongly, and it sort of just renewed that spark of how can I make this happen even more effectively. It's something that I've been working on, making a rhythm and a routine in our family, but it reminded me, okay, how much deeper can I go? How much further can I go? And it reignited that like excitement and passion and vision for making this a part of our routine. Very, very excited about this one. We will be going through the 30-day challenge. I've flipped through it a little bit. I've talked to my husband about it a little bit. I'm going to encourage him to read the book as well, so we're sort of on the same page, but we're going to start working that into, I just felt like this was a really good one. So if you're looking for a way to start praying with your family or casting a vision for that time together, I would definitely recommend this one. Now I have no read-alouds this month for our family time. We started one and we're still in it. It was sort of a longer chapter book than I expected it to be. we are starting the Vanderbeeks of 141st Street. My kids are sort of committed to the story. It's an interesting one. It's a little bit more modern, a little bit more up to date than what we would typically read. I read a lot of classics with the kids, and some of it's not that there's a sassy attitude, they're still working together, they still love each other, but maybe some of the language is a little bit different than how my kids would speak to each other, and so they're sort of like, is this okay? Do we like this? Do we not like this? So far, I like it, but I will give you a more in-depth review coming in July because I think we still have about 10 chapters, which is very unusual for us to have not finished at least one in the month. So that's what we're reading now, and then as soon as we finish that, we're going to jump into either Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, or Letters from Rivka. I haven't decided. Those are the two other books that we're hoping to read this summer. So that's all the books that I read throughout the month of June. Looking into July, I'm going to be picking up The Call of the Wild and Free. I sort of feel like the summer is my time to refine my vision for homeschool, to learn, to gather more information, to refine how we want to see the journey of the next year. So I'm going to be reading that one. I think I'm also going to pick up another book that I mentioned in my summer reading list, which is a book about dysgraphia, dyscalculia. I will link the summer reading list down below so you can find the exact title. My bird friends are out today. Those are the next two books that I am going to be picking up in July. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you're reading, what you think of it, some of your favorite authors for the summer reading. You know there will be more fiction in my future as it is the summer, and I love light and easy reading for this time of year as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we'll see you next time. Bye guys.